Hi, welcome to the next in the series of Captain's Table's fireside chat interviews that we're doing this year with some of our key sponsors and past finalists. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Bjørn Højgaard from Anglo-Eastern. Bjørn, listen, thank you very much. I appreciate how busy things are for you. Thank you for taking the time. Look, I could introduce you. It's far better, maybe you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit, or the viewers a little bit about sort of Anglo and some of the challenges you're seeing at the moment.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for having me. I'm the CEO of Anglo-Eastern Univan Group. It's one of the world's biggest ship management companies with more than 800 ships under management in various forms, 30,000 seafarers on the books, and 2,000 shore staff across 25 offices. Now, I think the challenges we are facing are pretty much the same broad challenges, that the entire shipping sector is pondering, and those are mostly about decarbonization, about how digitalization will change our business, and a little bit about how some of these geopolitical changes and tensions might change trading patterns over the next years, maybe decades, right? So sustainability, that whole agenda around how do we decarbonize and what are the solutions, both on the operational and soft skills side of things, and also on the sort of longer term hardware technology innovation side of that equation.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and obviously we've got the latest COP conference happening at the moment, and the opening address this morning, may have been yesterday actually. I'm lagging in terms of news. Was talking about we're on the highway to, I think the expression was highway to hell or thereabouts, and we've got our foot on the accelerator. I mean, clearly decarbonisation is one of the big driving forces that the shipping sector is looking at. Just sort of tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing in real time play out in terms of what you're facing in terms of that challenge.
Well, you have the upcoming regulations, right? The EU regulations coming into force here first of January, which will be a big challenge for our industry, right? But the bigger picture here is that we have to get to within IMO stated ambitions, which is 50% of reduction in the CO2 emissions by 2050. And I speak to many ship owners in the sector who actually think that's far too unambitious and who want to decarbonize by 40% within 2030, by 90% within 2040, and then the rest 100% by 2050. So that's really ambitious, right? But then you can it's cheap to talk. It's another thing completely to get there, right? And we all in various sectors of the industry working on different solutions. I always look at this in sort of the short term. What can we do today to optimize operations, to improve efficiencies? And I think there's still quite a lot of low-hanging fruit in that space, which we can harvest if we do the right things. Then there's the medium term, where you conceivably can see all these alternative or green fuels enter the market, and you gotta be ready for both the modalities around these fuels and for how they actually are handled and treated on board the ships and with the right engines, etc. And then if you look a little bit further up the horizon, you might wonder, if you're sort of on a 20-year horizon, whether stuff like nuclear power might actually find a renaissance, not just globally ashore, but also perhaps conceivably in ships themselves. I don't think that's right around the corner, but things are moving so fast these decades that anything can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've seen the last couple of years, haven't we? I mean, nobody would have predicted it. Well, maybe not anybody would have predicted in 2019 what would have happened over the course of the next couple of years from there. And yeah, I mean, it's incredible to look back and through the annals of time in the last 20 years to see just the change in technology and how technology is fundamentally shifting the way we operate. And I suppose with that in mind, where does innovation for you fit into the picture of enabling some of the changes that you think the sector needs to make?
yeah, we are fortunate in Anglo-Eastern that we've got our own sort of technical services department, which is really a naval architecture a department that works on ship designs and ship conversions and ideas with some of our clients to build the sort of tonnage of the future. We had made designs for ammonia, dual fuel ammonia propelled ships, both Newcastle Maxes and Super Maxes, and these ships are actually approved in principle by the classification societies and ready to serve to a shipyard for the final design and building. And I think that's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Wow.
So there are some of these innovations taking place. But traditionally, shipping is a bit of a old boys club. You know, it's big established companies, mostly men my age, who try to make these decisions. And I think we're actually missing the trick in many cases by leaving it in such a vacuum, such an echo chamber, right? To where do we go for some of these innovations? And that brings us back to the whole discussion here about the captain's table.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And look, again, thank you for your ongoing support for the captain's table. I'd be really fascinated, Bjørn, just to, you know, what you found first interesting about the competition. You obviously, you know, why you'd like to be involved, and what you'd like to see maybe as some of the outcomes from the entries into this and future competitions.
Well, I think it's wonderful that through the captain's table you have a lot of young people and upstarts and innovative companies and individuals who get a platform on which we shine the spotlight in a structured manner to evaluate these ideas and these technologies or innovations that are being presented in a manner whereby you can actually assess them and compare them and through that find a winner, right? But the whole idea of actually saying let's get together, let's offer a platform to people who otherwise might not get a voice in our industry, and let their brilliance and genius shine through. What we've seen in the last few years is that actually some of these companies, they bring something very special, which is innovation that has a practicality in terms of application in our industry. And I think that's worth a lot and something we should all support as best we can.
Yeah, I agree. And we had and when we had the round table earlier this year, we were talking about the sort of the categories that we felt that were, it would be useful for the entries to focus on this year. And we talked about decarbonisation and welfare and digital ports, connectivity, etc. And I think one of the key things that we talked about at the time was the importance that you were saying about it's all well and good with a theoretical idea, but actually for you, what you need is a practical something, whatever that something happens to be. So I guess from if we think about this year's entries, what would you be looking for in terms of the finalists and ultimately the winner this year?
Well, I think it covers such a broad spectrum, so I don't want to preempt what which section might deserve to win here, right? But yeah, I mean, you talked about the areas about decarbonization, sustainability. I think safety is an important one, and with that, the broader welfare picture for seafarers, for the key workers on board. I think COVID has shown us that we got quite some way to go before we are taking proper care of the people at the coalface of our industry, right? So what I hope to see is some great ideas, stuff that is out of the box, which I hadn't thought about and I hadn't heard about before, but which also has a very straightforward path to implementation and actually adding value in the real industry, right? I think we can get too much into the weed and it all becomes very academic. But I think what I loved about the last couple of years Captain's Table has been the applicability of these ideas into production and into our industries as real improvements, step improvements up in different areas, right?
And I'd agree. And yeah, if we look at this year's entrance, we're seeing a real geographical spread now, and we're getting entries from all across the world, which is fantastic. And I think there was a concern that I found sort of maybe about in the middle of 2020, when COVID was first really hitting home, that actually innovation or entrepreneurs sort of started to quieten down. I think there was a bit of a concern over the future. And so everybody went, oh my goodness. And now what we've seen is that really re-emergence of people coming up with ideas, which I think is fantastic. Bjørn, I'm conscious of time and we're up against it, but just maybe one final question, if I may. If you were providing any sort of snippets or points of advice for startups or innovators coming into the maritime sector or wanting to break into the sector, what would be your couple of words of wisdom?
Well, I think the first one would be, and there's no better time than now. Just do it is really the thing. Again, I've been 35 years in shipping, and for 35 years I've heard of nothing but heavy fuel oil and gas oil as the two sort of kinds of way we could fuel a ship. Now, as I look ahead for the next 10 years, I see so many different permutations of that equation around what kind of fuels are we using. And I think there's an old saying that there are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. And I think we are in one of those periods in the world right now where change is happening amazingly quickly, both in terms of they're just shifting geopolitical landscape, shifting technology landscape, shifting economic landscape, and necessity is the mother of invention, right? So we need these inventions to come through and to help us with the challenges that we are all facing in this shifting landscape. So no better time than now to move forward with your great ideas and bring them to the surface. And let's have the industry put a spotlight on that, and let's celebrate that innovation as we see it.
Yeah, fantastic. Bjørn, look, thank you very much again for your time. I really do appreciate it. Great to see you as always, and we look forward to catching up in person, all being well, in Hong Kong for the finals in early January. So thanks again, and keep well.
Thank you very much, Chris. See you in January.
Indeed.